I wasn't gonna make this video. And then as I was editing my last video and posting it, I saw in the little corner of the screen, a little Penguins video was Invincible. Is it good or not? And I'm just like, it just seems like every time, and not to call out Charlie or anything like that. I'm not in any way the same league as that man, but there's just many times where I watch something and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna watch this and not really like talk about it. And then I will go on YouTube and I see a recommended of many vast creators talking about something, and I'm like, do I want to yap about this? Do I want to just sit in front of a camera and be like, hey, what's up, guys? I've, this show is okay. This is right. Like, do I want to do that? Because that's basically what I do, except less camera work, So, all right, let's just get this over with. Because, I actually did have a lot to say about Invincible, because I binge watched season 2, season 3, and Adam and Eve. I watched season 1 like a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So the hardest part of watching something after so long is trying to remember everything that happened in season 1. But it got to the point where I was like, you know what? In about 20 years, I'm never going to remember this. So I don't care about trying to remember season 1 or trying to Google it as I'm watching the show. We're just going to pop it off by memory. And like everything I'm talking about now is just off the cuff. It's almost 6 a.m. I couldn't sleep. I had to get this off my chest because I had a lot to say about Invincible. It got to the point where I was making shorts as I was watching the show. And I was like, maybe I'll post these eventually. But then it just got, and after a while I was like, you know what, let's just make a video. Just get it over with. Let me start with season 2. First of all, we're going to start off with season 2. Just kind of blaze right through that. Season 2, actually, I thought it was fair. But here's the thing about season 2. I guess the villain of season 2 was Angstrom, the multi-dimensional guy. And I don't know much about the source material for Invincible. I know some things here and there from what I've gathered throughout my vast browsing of the internet. So I don't know how much that was changed or not, whatever. My issue with Angstrom though was, one, the whole multiverse thing. I felt that was a little too close to Marvel. Around that time, I felt like everything was copying the multiverse. They even had Spider-Man in it. Voice actor and everything. You can't get away with that. Batman was in one episode of kinda. So like, it's just like kind of hard for me to like justify that good, because I know that came around that time. Secondly, Angstrom to me did not matter, and I didn't care for it, even if it kind of like makes sense in season 3. None of these villains actually felt like threats to me. They all just felt like filler until we get to like the Viltrumite Empire taking over. That's all it felt like to me, every single part of it. Because like in season 2, Angstrom, literally Widowy, it is only like in the first episode and then like dies and then comes back at the last episode, and the fight is so annoying because he's just like throwing, I mean, it was cool seeing like a dinosaur talking universe. That was pretty dope. I love dinosaurs. Who doesn't, right? But, and then the rest is just like him torturing his family. And Angstrom's such a hypocrite. He's like, okay, you can't fathom that there's a universe where Mark is actually good and he actually doesn't destroy the world. You can't fathom that. And then you live long enough to become the villain yourself. He was just annoying. And when Mark killed him, now don't get me wrong, Mark is a little bit of a hypocrite because he's like, oh, I can't kill. But then he's like mad at Cecil for doing things later. And I have mixed opinions about that. But then I am kind of glad, like, oh man, this guy was kind of annoying. Really, he was. And I get like he put in all these dimensions to like wear him out so he can fight him, but I was just like, Mark, in this man, please, because Seth Rogen though, that was a cool part. I love Seth Rogen. What's his name? Alan the Alien. I love his whole story arc. I love that he gets buffer. I love it like Seth Rogen. I love every second of that storyline. We had Optimus Prime up in there, being like, you must defeat the Viltrumites. And I was like, that's really cool. I love this storyline. I would love more of this storyline. Stop only telling me this storyline whenever they do it. Omni-Man definitely gaslight his son with having another son. His other son is kind of annoying. He's out there like trying to justify death, but also at the same time, that's like one of those like Daredevil versus Punishers. Like, should we kill the bad guys so they don't kill again, or do they deserve justice? Like, the system should. Then that's one that I've kind of struggled with as I watch this show. But the son, the little, what's his name? Oliver, he's kind of annoying. But then again, I get it. He's young, and he's still got to figure stuff out, right? So I can't blame him too much for that. But there are moments where, like, especially when he killed the Mauler brothers, that was kind of dark. And he's like, good. And then there's many times where, like, he's itching a little too much to death, and it's one of those things that, like, is Oliver a case of like nature versus nurture? Is this something that it's just in his DNA, versus like, did Mark inherit more of his mother, or is it, I don't know. It's hard to tell. Anyways, it's because I watched these so quickly. I don't remember what is season 3 and what was season 2, but I do remember that like Mark was mad at those two dudes who came from the future for stealing Declaration of Independence. Like, oh, you broke like a federal crime or like whatever, distilling that. But then Mark literally breaks into the Pentagon, and they even like later mentioned like, oh, how come Mark is to just break into the Pentagon? Anyone else would be like, when that one dude who's all got a vengeance boner for Invincible. There are just many times where they kind of make a point there a little bit, but also like they kind of don't make a point there at the times. I mean, he does like what is it justifying him saving lives or whatever? Yeah, Mark is definitely a hypocrite sometimes. I get that, like, was it Darkwing Duck or whatever his name was, hurt people, but like that's like one of those philosophy questions of how long does someone have to repent for their sins? You know what I mean? If they hurt somebody but they're trying to like do good and everything like that, would you allow them to do that? Because if you just put them in prison, they could just resent you more and want to be more of a villain, you know, maybe. And there's something that Cecil said though, was like, you know, you either have to be the good guy or save lives, you know, or something like that. Regardless of the whole situation, whether you believe or not, there's just points where like Mark is just so stubborn and he's just like, yeah, I have this like one way of thinking and I'm gonna think of that, and my way is the highway kind of way. And in a weird way, he's kind of like hard-headed like his dad. Definitely Mark is like, I think is a good person, but I was just so frustrated by so many times where Mark was just like kind of quit being a butthead Mark. Oh my gosh. But all I can say about for season 2, out of all the villains and stuff like that came through, I think the biggest villain of all was just Mark's timing. He could not get a vacation. He could not get a break. It just seems like anytime he had to do anything, you know, it's like I gotta go save this guy. I can't even go on a date with my girlfriend. Let's break up. Probably like the best storyline was his friend's storyline with his boyfriend and how he almost like ends himself, and the $1 million man here like tries to go. It's like, hey, you know, step away from the ledge. Gives him a nice speech. That was actually a very powerful moment. Most of the storylines that I enjoyed were like kind of the side ones. But yeah, season 2, the worst villain was you know, working overtime. And to me, that was the true one. To be honest, I watched this show actually mainly for the drama of that's probably what I watch over, like trying to see how the relationships end up. I mean, like, was it Kate getting married to Immortal? That's like, oh, that's what? That's crazy. Or like this whole like Rex and like Ray thing. That's a whole other thing. Rex and Ray. Like, Rex was a jerk, but he had one of the greatest comebacks in history. I mean, he was out there he was like literally cheated on like multiple girlfriends, and then all of a sudden he takes one for the team. Literally, he gets shot in the head. And I'm like, no, Rex dies, and then he survives, and it's like, oh, cool, Rex survives, and everyone else survives too. Kate survives. You know, Ray survives. This is all great. It's all great. Ray and Rex, they got a thing going on. You know what? I think it's about time that like he deserves someone, you know, and she looks like she would love to have someone too. And even like Monster Girl and Robot, they get to. It's just all like I watch it for the relationship parts of like seeing who gets with who, and you know, the drama, the sauce, the tea, you know, the cheese, right? That's what I watch it for, if I'm being honest with you, because the only cool part for me battle wise was probably when Conquest shows up. And after that, I don't really care for the other fights. They're all kind of just like literally they feel all like filler to me until the Village of Empire shows up. I mean, the parts with Alan and with like Battle Beast and they're in the prison, dope. But like all these like petty little villains, like you go tell me the Lizard League comes up and just like blows everything out of the water. Speaking of Lizard League, tangent about Adam and Eve. I watched that special. You know what? It's funny. When I first watched that special, one of my friends put it on like 3 years ago or however long ago that came out, and I was like, I don't want to watch this crap, because that's how I felt about Invincible at the time. 3 years later, I watched it, like, wow, this is so good. I can't believe I watched this, and I discovered it on my own. You know, so my friend listens to this. Just poking at them. But yeah, that was actually good. Eve's parents though are trash, but Eve's broken. She's broken, and she proves that like in season 3. I heard some people say like, oh, Eve, they nerfed Eve, and I was like, well, it seems like there's a justifiable reason why they nerfed her. I wouldn't say she's nerfed. She has this ability that she can only unlock when she like goes Super Saiyan or whatever, so that justifies it. But that, man, that was one of those, I was gonna put Adam Eve on the special or whatever, and I was just gonna like work on stuff, but as I was working, I'm like, I'm having to put the work down, because I'm like, this is actually kind of interesting, and I kind of want to watch this. Anyways, moving on. Aside from that, I don't even remember what I was talking about before that. Conquest? I don't know. I'll get to it in a minute. But like, probably the most memorable part of me for season 3 was episode 3, when it shows that couple who are like criminals, and they're like just struggling to pay rent, and it really showed like this parallel of like even like real life experiences where some people feel like they have to enter a life of crime because they're stricken in poverty, and they can't find, and they want to work, they want to contribute to society, but they can't find solid work for whatever reason. They can't, you know, they work hard, they try hard, and it pushes them further and further. And to me, it kind of like plays on this whole thing that, you know, what, like the episode before that, which was when Mark was kind of like talking about like, oh, we should put people away because there are criminals. But also there's a solid argument, if you put someone in prison who maybe, yeah, they made some mistakes and they want to redeem themselves for them, could they try to do better to contribute to society? Like, I don't know how, like, was it like how like Northern European countries do prison time, where they have little apartments and they read and stuff? I don't know. You just want to contribute to the industrial prison complex, Mark? Why don't you ask these people why they're doing this? There are many times where I feel like most of the fights that Mark gets into could be solved if he just like, wait, hold up. And the one time he does do that, like, I think he does it with Conquest. Conquest's like, I'm not listening to you, I'm gonna punch you. I feel like most of the fight, even with the Powerplex, there were times where I'm like, if you just just kind of talk to this guy, he probably would chill out. Then again, he was a bit crazy. Definitely, I think Powerplex, Todd here. I just learned today that I was like, this is Todd, because I was watching this. I was like, who's his voice actor? This is Todd from BoJack Horseman. And then I was like, wait a minute, this is Jesse Pinkman. Why did I not realize that? Why did I not realize that Aaron Paul voiced Todd and this guy? Crazy. But he made some points with Invincible. But then it leads back to like, okay, he is saving lives. Does that justify what he's doing? But also, and so yeah, he had a point. Powerplex had a point. But also, Powerplex went crazy. He also blamed. I blame you for killing my wife. But newsflash, Powerplex, you killed your own wife. That was your fault. You like Angstrom, you lived long enough to become the villain. So he was kind of annoying too. Very annoying. And then after the clone Invincibles, the multiverse Invincibles show up, still blaming Mark. And I'm like, oh my God. But also, this is crazy. Mark blames himself so much for all these problems. Like he bears that weight on him. Like, the reason all this happens is because of me, because I didn't kill Angstrom, because I didn't stop Powerplex, because I didn't XYZ, blah, 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 blah. Maybe I didn't stop my dad, whatever. He blames all that on himself. But this is part where I was like, kind of like, Mark, can you just can it for a second? Because his mom comes up and is like, I'm sorry, Mark. I'm sorry I gave you this life. And it's like one of those things of which came first, the chicken or the egg? Like who started the bat? Who started the fire? It was always burning since the world been turning, Mark. Your mom is blaming herself for all this happening. She's blaming herself for like birthing you and putting you in this position where you caused that, Mark. Now your mother's bearing that weight. And it's just like, okay, I think we're at the point now, Mark, where I don't think it matters who started this fire. What do we do to put it out? I think that's what you need to focus on, buddy. That's all I can say. That's really all I can say. And how come every time Adam and Mark do it, they seem to have their window open? That's just really weird. But yeah, that Conquest fight was dope. Like, that felt like an anime fight. I will admit, though, there were points where I could see the animation. That's where the budget went on that one a little bit. But before that, yeah, I can get the memes. Like, people say they have the JPEG flag for season 4, and then there was that one episode where they made fun of the animation at that Comic-Con episode. I don't think the animation was that terrible. Although, I remember, like, before I even made this video, I saw a video saying, why is the Invincible have a bigger budget and it's got a worse animation? Look, animation's hard, but I agree. They probably are cutting corners. I don't know. Is Amazon not giving them the right check? I don't know who the studio does it. I don't know how that works. Them reusing shots and all that kind of jazz there. But bigger budget, crappier product. I don't think it was that bad, though. I don't think it was that bad to like make that much fun of it. But I don't care. I kind of hate this show, but also like it's like my relationship with Cobra Kai. I'm this deep in, and I gotta see it way through. Mama didn't raise no quitter. But yeah, that Conquest fight was dope. Like I said, I feel like every fight before that was just like him going to see Immortal in the future. Like that literally felt like a filler episode. Like, does that come back later? Angstrom, like, oh, like he's not dead again. He almost dies. Like I if Angstrom comes back, I don't care. Like he's a kind of annoying villain. Like, it's like I said, it's one of those things that like even at the end of the day, Angstrom comes back, but like literally when the Viltrumite Empire shows up, it's all hands on deck. Like, none of this is gonna matter. Like, if Viltrumite Empire showed up like when all those marks were there, like it would have been over, and it's just, I know that looming threat. It's like if who's the I'm trying to think of a villain force in the Marvel universe. I don't know. It's like if the Skrulls maybe invaded Earth and then Galactus about to show up. Like, why do I care about this petty squabble with the Skrulls when I know Galactus is about to eat the entire Earth? I think that was my issue with it. Like I think you could have teased the looming empire of Viltrumite, but we already know they're coming. But like I said, I don't know how the comics. I don't know how it is in like the graphic now or whatever. So I don't know. I'm seeing what they're giving me right now, and I have my nitpicks. But also, like, I did binge watch this because I was somewhat enjoying myself. I don't know how to explain it. Can you explain it to me? But yeah, that Conquest fight was cool. The best part of that fight is when Conquest basically admits that, like, I am lonely and I basically want to die. And he's like, take it to your grave. That was brutal. That was very brutal. And that's when Mark reaches the point where, like, yeah, I gotta kill people now. I gotta go back on my own words. Mark is annoying sometimes. I swear to God. You don't deserve Eve. I don't say that much. Oliver's kind of annoying too. But he's a child. I can give him that one. I'm happy for his mom though, finding a man. She deserves it. She deserves love. She's been through a lot. And oh man, the season 2, her arc of like trying to go to therapy, and then like the people in the therapy are like, we don't want your ex-husband, or I guess they're still technically married, are they? Killed my wife. Like, how do you go through that? How do you, like, it's like if you went to a meeting, anonymous meeting for like people who lost loved ones to like, I don't know, shooters or something like that, and then you go there and find out, oh, someone shot their whoever family member. It's like, how do you go through that? She was so lonely. She deserved. He's like, oh, how'd you tell my secret identity? What's this man gonna do? He's a real estate agent. Like, that's a whole other thing. How could you tell my secret identity, bro? You fly out your window. Like, if I love sitting outside my house. You know, I love sitting, enjoying the cool summer breeze. You know, I enjoy that. The fall of the winter leaves, you know, or whatever. You know, I enjoy it. Maybe not spring because of the allergies, but like, I enjoy it. You don't think I'll go walk outside in my neighborhood? I even walk outside at night sometimes, but if it's not too late, you know. But like, you know, there's a 99% chance that someone saw you flying out your window and you're worried that the real estate agent who's dating your mom, and they're getting pretty serious, he's gonna find out eventually. Your brother's purple. You can't hide that forever. Like, you do it with the window open. There's cameras following you all the time. Like, Mark, come on, bro. Like, I don't know why you that mad. I don't know why you that mad. Oh gosh, I think I've rambled enough about this show. All I can say, the ending of season 3, I was kind of done, because when they start teasing stuff, first they're teasing like, and Mark's clothes are all goopy. Satan's apparently about to erupt. The little mind flayers are breeding. You know, obviously the looming Viltrumite Empire is the whole thing. You tease like 50, like that. I was like, you put every single Marvel end credit scene at the end here. That's so overwhelming for me. Give me one storyline, and it's just like, there's a part of me that I hope the show gets canceled, because when season 4 comes out, I'm already invested this much that I have to watch it. I have to watch it because I weirdly enjoy this. It's like a toxic ex that's like, okay, maybe we'll work out this stuff. But at the end of the day, my favorite parts are like, bro, when they're like this episode where like, oh, it's like a triple date where it's like Mark, you know, he meets Amber, his ex Amber. She's got a boyfriend Kyle. They both like Sans Dog. His best friend is there with his boyfriend. Them bowling, and like, man, that kind of stuff in their show, I enjoy that. Or even the stuff where, like I said, it's those two criminals trying to make an ends meet and just, you know, flower their plant. That's the kind of stuff I live for in their show. And then they ruin it with Mark's whining, and I'm just like, you know, I need better character development for Mark, you know, just a little bit more. I'm not saying he's the worst. No, I think out of all the characters, Mark is the worst. I remember season 1, I didn't really care much for like Amber, because she was like, how did you not tell me your secret identity of being a superhero? And I was like, you expect him to tell you that? Like, that early on? That's a pretty big secret. I don't know if it's a controversial take or anything like that, but the Cecil background episode was really good, where they talk about his backstory and like what he got sent to prison, and he kind of had to learn to like, oh, I didn't make hard choices. Don't get me wrong, up until that point, Cecil I hated him, and I was like on Mark's side. And then I was like, after a while, I was like, I know Cecil is kind of a worm and a snake, and he kind of like goes around people back, but he's like Nick Fury. I get why he does it, you know. And it's like, I kind of get why he put that little frequency thing in Mark's brain or whatever, because it's like, yeah, Omni-Man did kind of pop off. Mark, you're kind of popping off, but is it like one of those situations where like, because he doesn't feel trusted he's doing this, or is it one of those things like, it was inevitable that Mark was gonna do this? Mark is like the most powerful superhero on Earth. He's kind of got like he's kind of like cocky sometimes, you know. Like, yeah, get your half Viltrumite, but there are scenes, and it's just like. But I get that's like putting something in someone's brain without their permission is kind of wrong. But But there were moments where like, if he didn't do that, like Mark would have popped off, right? No, I don't know. There are levels though. But I said there are getting moments of the show where this feels like anime Naruto level fighting, where it's like, okay, like Conquest is supposed to be one of those. I guess he's like what, the strongest Viltrumite, and Mark beats him. Yeah, he has help with Eve, right? But there are literally moments where I felt like it was like freaking Dragon Ball Z and Naruto with the power of friendship, and if I yell and try harder, I can beat this guy, and I get angrier, that I can beat this guy. That's literally what it felt like with that battle. It was still cool though, don't get me wrong. It's probably the coolest battle I've seen in a while, but like half the fights feel like, oh, how are you gonna stop a guy who can literally like transfer you to different dimensions, you know? Angstrom could have won that fight easily. He was just, I mean, he's obviously blinded by his own vendettas, but just, or him fighting like 10 other Invincibles. Mark's got some plot armor is all I'm saying. Even his brother, like, bro, Conqueror should have split Oliver in half. There was just no way he would. I don't even see how he survived that one. Just dang, you know. Anyways, yeah. So season 3 cliffhangers is a little too much. Season 2, I think I maybe liked it a little bit better. but just I feel like every episode is the same though. I mean, for most of the part up season 2 to 3, it's like, oh, Mark's just trying to live a normal life. Oh, there's a problem. I gotta go fix it. And then you know how many times like he's just got a black eye and he recovers. It's just like, you know, I don't even think Dragon Ball Z did that to me that much. You know what I mean? Like, just it seems like every episode he's recovering from something, and it's just like, and like, oh my god, you're injured. I was like, Mark, you know Mark's gonna survive this. He does this every week. It's like every week, just it's just every day, bro. There's not like a, can we give me a beach episode? That's a filler that I would like. Not this like these villains that I don't really, you know, like evil immortal in the future. Is that gonna go anywhere, guys? If you know the Invincible Sorcerer Serial, how do you feel? Like I I feel crazy because I'm like, is the writing not peak? Is it peak in the comics or whatever? How is it translating here? You know, but it's still so corny that they anytime it's like, oh my god, who's that in the air? Juice out.
And as I get better at it, I am a victim of my own success.